Hello, welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and today I just have some new books from a local bookstore to show. So, just the other day, I took my son to the local bookstore so that he could pick up some things, and of course, I found some things that I had had my eye on for a while, and I saw that our local small bookstore had them, so I grabbed them. So it's just a few things. I figured I'd show them, and people have read these. I'd love to hear what they thought. The first one is a fairly new release from this year. The Belgica's Journey into the Dark Antarctic Night. Madhouse at the End of the Earth by Julian Sancton. This is published by Crown. Again, just came out earlier this year. And this is about the 1897 expedition from, I believe, a Belgian ship. Or at least the commander was Belgian, to the Antarctic, and they end up, I believe, getting trapped, start descending into madness. This is part history, part thriller in a certain way. Actually, I'll just read I'll read the last paragraph here, just to get a sense of why it is that I picked this up. I usually don't go for reading whole flaps and everything else. This stuff is easy enough to find online as far as information goes if people are interested. But the last paragraph of this first flap says, drawing on the diaries and journals of the Belgica's crew and exclusive access to the ship's logbook, Sancton brings novelistic flair to a story of human extremes, one so remarkable that even today NASA studies it for research on isolation for future missions to Mars. Equal parts maritime thriller and gothic horror, Madhouse at the End of the Earth is an unforgettable journey into the deep. So, kind of a history tinged with horror. So this is one that maybe I'll get to this year. I'm not entirely sure. I got a lot of stuff that I plan on reading this year. But one that I'd had my eye on, and I saw it, so I grabbed it. Another one that I picked up, this one's fiction. The Mercies by Kiran, Millwood, Hargrave. This is one that, obviously, New York Times book review, fairly, I guess, well-known. I don't read a lot of fiction, especially not newer fiction, but I remember seeing something about this, and it was certainly on my radar. So I saw that the bookstore had a copy, and this is pretty short in the back, so I'll read this one really quickly. Finnmark, Norway, 1617. 20-year-old Maren Magnusdottir stands on the craggy coast watching the skies break into a sudden and reckless storm. All 40 of the village's men are at sea, including Maren's father and brother, and all 40 are drowned in the otherworldly disaster. For the women left behind, survival means defying the strict rules of the island. They fish, hunt, and butcher reindeer, which they never did while the men were alive. But the foundation of this new feminine frontier begins to crack with the arrival of Absalom Cornet, a man sent from Scotland to root out alleged witchcraft. Cornet brings with him the threat of danger and a pretty young Norwegian wife named Ursa. As Maren and Ursa are drawn to one another in ways that surprise them both, the island begins to close in on them, with Absalom's iron rule threatening its very existence. So there were a lot of things about this that were kind of intriguing. You got the historical fiction dealing with, they're saying witchcraft here, but I think it's a little bit, maybe I'm anticipating something more akin to like traditional paganism coming into conflict with Christianity. Maybe it's kind of a remote outpost of tradition there. And then you have this, looks like a lesbian romance blooming as well. And all this seemed to be very intriguing. So pick this up. Maybe I'll save this for next year's Pride Month or something. I'm not sure exactly when I'll get to it, but one that intrigued me. The last book that I picked up, on here you can see the bookmark from the bookstore, the Hickory Stick Bookshop, is The Year 1000, a nonfiction, of course, When Explorers Connected the World and Globalization Began by Valerie Hansen. Again, this is a fairly quick back, so I'll read this. People often believe that the years immediately prior to AD 1000 lack major cultural developments or geopolitical encounters. Europe was in the Dark Ages, and the most impressive feat of Western sea travel was the Vikings' invasion of Britain. But is that true? How, then, to explain the presence of blonde-haired people in Maya temple murals at Chichen Itza, Mexico? Could it be possible the Vikings had found their way to the Americas during the height of the Maya Empire? Valerie, Hansen, an award-winning historian, argues that the year 1000 was the world's first instance of major cultural exchange and exploration. Drawing on nearly 30 years of research, she presents a compelling account of first encounters between disparate societies which sparked conflict and collaboration, eerily reminiscent of our globalized world. And she is a professor of history at Yale. So this seemed really intriguing. The Maya thing that they have in here with the Vikings seems kind of more maybe a sensationalist thing to put on the back. But I'm more interested in seeing how different cultures were interacting. We often think of medieval people as never leaving the few square miles in which they were born, but especially if you read the Icelandic sagas, they were pretty well traveled, remarkably so sometimes. Obviously not all, but certainly many medieval people got around and they saw many cultures and they traveled widely. So that's really what I'm interested in seeing there, the effects of that. And the only other thing, I think I'd mentioned that I went with my son to the bookstore, so he got a few things, but we also went to the comic shop before that, and he picked up a few. Sorry, you might be able to hear my dog barking. Amazon truck just pulled up. And he got a couple comics from the dollar bins, and I saw this, I just had to pick it up. Conan #1 from Marvel 2 years ago. What inspired me was Michael K. Vaughan and Steve Donoghue have been doing every Wednesday Marvel Epic Collections, and just a few weeks ago they did one of the Conan stories, the original run from Marvel of Conan in their Epic Collection. And at some point, Marvel had lost the rights to Conan. It went to Dark Horse, and I also liked that run. I probably know that run actually better than the Marvel one, but then Marvel got it back. And, sorry, you can probably hear my dog freaking out right now because the person's at the door. And I saw this #1, Marvel getting it back, and I thought this would be great to check out. So, you can say I paid $4.99. I haven't read it yet, but probably read it this afternoon. And that's it. Other than the comic book, I got 3 books at the store. Madhouse at the End of the World, at the End of the Earth, the Mercies, and the Year 1000. So if you've read any of these, I'd be interested to hear what you think. All right. Thank you, BookTube.